Guys, like you can see there, that is the virtual box. Is that not correct? Application. Is that not correct? Now, what we want to do, class 1, lab class 1. So far, we've done with the first objective of Network Plus N10005. Is that not correct? We know what the OSI model is, what the networking IP addresses are, what virtual networks are, troubleshooting methodology. Now, what we want to do now is to set up a virtual machine. While we're setting up a virtual machine, we're going to set up a virtual network. We're going to also set up a virtual desktop computer system. Are we together? Now, this is a program called VirtualBox. It allows us to be able to create virtualization technology. Things like creating a virtual computer, virtual hard drive, virtual networks as well. Now, make sure your computer is connected to Network Plus 2, okay? Make sure Network Plus 2 stays. The reason is because we're going to use our adapter as a bridge. We're going to use our network adapter as a bridge, whereby the system we're going to be running on our computers will be issued IP address by the wireless through the host network adapter on our computer system. Are we together? Now, the first step I'm going to do now is to click on New. Do you see the word there, New? Now, click on New, and it's going to pop up the wizard. It's asking you for the name and the operating system. Now, we're going to call this client Win7. Call it client Win7, because we're going to be installing the Windows 7 operating system. Are we together? Now, I think the image I gave to you guys was x86, right? Which is 32 bits. So on the drop-down menu, you'll notice that it says, what version do you want to use? So on the drop-down menu, I'm going to select Windows 7 32 what? Bits. So I'm going to select 32 bit there. That's it. I'm going to select 32 bits. Okay? Now the next step I'm going to do is to click continue. Now it's going to ask me what RAM. Now by default, it gives us 512. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to select 1024. Are you getting me? I'm going to give 1024 what? RAM. Are we following? Yeah, that's 1 gig of RAM. Okay? So I'm going to click continue. It's going to ask us, do we have a virtual hard drive? Of course, we don't have a virtual hard drive. So the system is going to create us what? A virtual hard drive. So I'm going to accept, create a new virtual hard drive. I'm going to click create. Now, the wizard for the virtual hard drive comes up. It's going to tell us what type of virtual hard drive do you want to create. Now, there are so many different types of virtual hard drive, but because we're using VirtualBox, I would love us to go with the default VirtualBox hard drive format, which is VDI. Are we together? There are other ones here, but we'll go with the first one. So I'll click on VDI, click continue. Now it's asking us what type of virtual machine. Now we do have dynamic allocated and we have fixed. Now dynamic allocated, like we learned in our previous class in A+, dynamic allocated will only allocate space that is what? Being used. So as you keep using space, the drive gets what? Expanded. But since we're not going on that direction, we'll just click on fix so that all the space are available at the same time. So I'll click on fixed. I'll click continue. Now it's going to ask us what name do you want to give the virtual hard drive. Actually, I'll just accept the default name as the client computer system. Now I can actually still come here and, customize the hard drive, like raise the hard drive to 30 gig, 40 gig, 50 gig, depending on the specification given to you on your lab or on the organization you're working, if you're running a virtualization environment. So we'll just accept the default 25, then I'll click create. And it will start creating a virtual hard drive. Now what it's going to do now is going to run through to set up the virtual hard drive. Then we're going to attach our operating system, configure the network, and configure other computer settings like you would do in a physical computer system. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to leave the virtual hard drive to run through to get created. Then I'm going to come back and we're going to proceed from there. This is how to set up a virtual computer system using VirtualBox. The step we followed is almost unique with all different type of virtual machine. Whether you're using VMware Player, whether you're using VMware Workstation, if you're using Hyper-V, if you're using Parallels, if you're using VMware Fusion, name all the kinds of virtual machine you can think of. It's almost the same step they will also follow. So I'll just leave this to run through and we'll come back and continue from there. Now, the virtual machine has been set up, which is client Windows 7. Is that not correct? Now, what I'm going to do, I'm going to click on the Windows 7 client, and I'm going to click on Settings. I'm going to click on the Windows 7, I'm going to select it, and I'm going to click on Settings. Now, on the Settings, there are a lot of tabs there. You have General, you have System, Display, Storage, Audio, Network, Port, and Shared Folders. Now, for now, we're going to be concerned about the system. Now, what is a system? The system is where you configure your boot order. If you notice, this is where you configure your boot order. Now, by default, your first boot is a floppy. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to check the floppy. I'm going to select the CD-ROM, and I'm going to come to the side of the arrow button where it says Move Up. I'm going to press it, and it's going to push it up. I'm going to press on the hard drive. I'm going to push it up. So now I have my first boot as DVD, my second boot as what? The hard drive. Are we together? Okay, the next step is to go to, I'm not concerned about the processor, I'm fine. My processor is actually a 1 core. I can actually make it a 2 core, but you notice there's a detection here. It says here that the system protector, the feature is not currently enabled for the motherboard features. So this is needed in order for you to support more than one virtual processor. Are we together? So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to leave it on 1 core, which is fine. I don't have that error displaying on my screen. Now the next step is to go to the storage. Now by default, your storage is VDI, it's under SATA. Now do you know why it's under SATA? Because you're using what? Windows 7. That was the name of the virtual machine. Now when Windows 7 was released, most of the hard drives that were included in the computers were SATA drives. And they were using SATA controllers, meaning the cable for SATA. Those of you did A+. Now, what we want to do, we want to add the ISO image, which is the CD of the operating system to the virtual machine in order for us to install it. So how do you go about doing that? What I will do, I will click on the controller, which is IDE. Then you see a disk. You see the option that says add a DVD or a CD. The moment you take the mouse icon on top of this, the icon here, the plus icon, you notice that it says add CD or DVD. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to click on that. It's going to bring up the pop-up wizard. I'm going to click choose disk. Then I'm going to go to where I asked you guys to copy your image. My image is actually on Trini my image is on Trini ISO. So the image is actually what? It's a Windows, okay, mine is on my document if I'm not mistaken. Let me see, mine should be somewhere here, yeah. Mine is here. That is the Windows 7 x86, the image I copied to you guys earlier on. So go and select that image. It should be somewhere within your computer system or your USB. So mine, I'm going to click it, which is Windows 7 x86. I'm going to click open, and it will be added. Windows 7 Ultimate x86. Okay, let me see mine. Okay, I think mine that I added is a 60. Let me see. Okay, mine that I added is a 64-bit, so I'm going to actually remove it. I'm going to go back and add the one for x86. Let me see. Let me see if it's in my documents. Yeah, x86. That's it there. Okay, that's my image. That's it, x86, because we're installing a 32-bit operating system. So now, after we're done with that, I'm going to go to network. Now, by default, your network will select NAT. So it will be used for translation. Now, we're not using NAT because if it's on NAT, it means that it will be using your host computer to translate to the internet. Now, that's not what we want to do. Are we together? Now, what we want to actually do is to bridge the adapter. Now, by bridging the adapter, it's going to ask you, who do you want to bridge the adapter to? Now, by default, we are currently connected to network +2. So, whatever network that my wireless adapter is connected to, my virtual machine adapter is also going to be connecting to it. But if you check the manual that I gave to you, it said install 2 network adapter. It says note, all adapters should not connect to the network +2 wireless or any other router for IP address. So what I'm going to do, instead of bridging my adapter, I'm going to say internal network. Because according to the lab, it says make sure all adapters should not connect to the network +2 wireless router. Now, the only way it can connect to the wireless router is to what? Bridge it. Are we together? That's the only way. If you bridge it, it will be able to connect. But if you put it internal, it won't be connecting to the adapter. But it said 2. Now, by default, there's only 1 enabled. So I'm going to click on the second adapter. I'm going to say enable network adapter. I'm going to say internal network. Then on the drop-down list, I'm going to say allow. I'll go back to the first one again. I will expand advance. And I'll come here and say allow all virtual machines. So those are the 2 network adapters we've added. It's like installing 2 network adapters on your workstation. So I'm going to click OK. And guys, on my summary page, it shows that everything is intact. My Windows 7, my RAM, my boot order, my ISO image, which is my DVD, my network adapters, there are 2, everything is set up. Now the next thing is to click on start. The moment you click on start, the virtual machine is going to come up. And the virtual machine will start installing. It will go through all the installation steps. So it's going to load up the Windows operating system until we'll see the setup tab. So I'll just wait for that to come up and I'll proceed from there. You think I'm wasting my time? I'm doing this step by step like the way you should do it. I would have easily just say, do this, do that, do this, follow this. I'm doing it so that you follow me what I am doing. So that when you come and write your exam, you have that confidence. Not that I'm doing it, you're doing something else. That's why I gave you manuals, as well, to tell you exactly what I am doing. Now I'm going to click on next, because this is just a normal standard installation. Is that correct? I'm just going to click on next. The wizard will come up. The setup will come up. I'll click on accept default settings, just like the way you install Windows, okay? This is just a formal installation. There's no any special task. So I'm not upgrading. I'm actually customizing. So I'm going to accept the default here, which is 25. I'll click next, and Windows will start copying, and Windows installation will go through and have Windows installed. The main practicals actually, the main configuration actually starts after the installation is done. According to the lab I gave to you guys, we are supposed to give an administrator name, Paul Freeman. The password is Monday. And on the network adapter, we are to rename the 2 network adapter we just added. We are to rename it to local area, a local network, and external network. And we are asked to assign local network a certain type of IP address, external network a certain type of IP address. Then it says after installing the operating system, you are required to set up 2 additional logical partitions. The first partition should be 4 gig. The second partition should be 3 gig. And you should give them a label later, movie and photos. Yeah, movies and photos. Accept all other default settings. That is exactly what we're going to be setting up. I don't think we have time now. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to save these states. Now, how do you save the states? I'm going to click on close. You see this icon, the close button. The moment you click on close, it's going to bring up a pop-up screen that says, do you actually want to turn on the machine, or do you want to save the state? So I'm going to click this save state. When we come back on Tuesday or Monday, on Tuesday or Thursday next week, I'm going to resume from where I stopped. Are we together? I'm not going to complete mine. I'm going to resume so that we do everything together in class. Are we together? So that there's no mistake. You can't say, oh no, Mr. Sam, but you completed it. That is not going to happen. So I'm going to click on Save States. So I'll continue from here when we meet next week.